Welcome to the Boone Podcast. I'm Bret Boone, and today on the program, I sit down with an all-star and a World Series champion.
I sacrificed a lot to come to New York. I wanted to be a part of something special.
He made me a better player, a better person.
Roy Halladay is my guy, man. He was tough.
Welcome to the Bret Boone Podcast. I'm Bret Boone. Today on the program, I sit down with one of the best closers to ever do it. He's a seven-time All-Star, and later this week, he'll be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Pretty awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Wagner. Billy, thanks for coming on.
Bernie, it's always good to see you, man. It's been a while.
It's been a minute. I'll tell you, I still haven't gotten a hit off you. You know, it's a big, the talk now, and just when I go to the ballpark, people are talking, the induction's coming up, and, who's going in this year, and it's Ichiro, and it's Billy, and the late Dave Parker. There's a few more going in, CC Sabathia, but they always say, Wagner, what was it like? What would you like, Booney? How'd you do against Wags? I said, you know what? I still haven't gotten a hit off him. And guys are looking it up. Guys on the Rangers looking it up. Yeah, you were 0 for 9. Punched you out 5. I said, the thing was, I saw it big. I couldn't hit it. I could see his heater, and I'd foul it off. And Eduardo,
your brother didn't, though. Your brother didn't.
Did he do all right?
Oh my God! The first two times they were facing me, he took me deep.
Really?
And so, it was funny because Osmus is now his bench coach, right?
Right.
And so the third time I'm facing him, Cincinnati comes into town, and they bring up their talk. They go, "Okay, Aaron Boone." I'm like this. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this guy."
I want his brother.
and Brett, listen, Brett. He goes, and Osmus goes, "Listen, I'll take care of it." And I'm like, "Okay." Source could be. Aaron steps in, 9th inning. He's up there, and I mean, he's so excited. You could say he's like, "I'm going to take this guy shit deep again." I go up there, and all of a sudden, I throw a first pitch fastball right down the middle. He takes it. I end up like striking him out. I don't even think he swung. Osmus is back there going, fastball. Here comes the fastball. He's throwing it right down the middle, and he couldn't believe it. And I think he struck you. And from that point on, I don't think Aaron got a hit because I think Osmus got into his head just going, he's telling me what he's going to throw. So it's funny. Yeah.
Right. And it's, do I believe him or I don't believe him? The cat and mouse.
Anybody that knows Brad Osmus also knows that he's got that dry sense of humor that if you go out there, he can hurt your feelings with words. He really can break bones with words.
Yeah. Eduardo Perez.
Yes.
I know you know that. How'd you do against him?
I don't know. I can't remember. We played together in Puerto Rico. I think we had good ABs. I don't know if we faced each other a lot. So, I mean, what does he say? Does he say?
Well, here's my Eduardo story. And I saw him the other day. He was in town, and I talked to him about it. I told him I was having Billy on the show, and he said, Boone, remember what I told you? Because Eduardo and myself were teammates for like a second. Eduardo was a guy that came to the Reds, and he was our first right-hander off the bench. So I remember we're sitting in Houston one time, and you were getting ready. Here comes Billy Wagner, and I'm sitting there going, shit. I still haven't got a hit off him. There was you and Rob Nett. Couldn't get a hit off Rob Nett. So I said, Eduardo comes. He goes, you want to hear something? I said, I'll take anything. He goes, well, what does he usually throw? I said, he usually throws me heaters. I said, he'll flip me a slider here and there. I said, but I see the heater good, Eduardo. I can't square it. It's getting to me now. He goes, here's what I do. He said, I took Billy deep one time. And I said, what do you mean, what do you do? He goes, well, when you see the ball, he said, swing one ball above the ball. And I looked at him. I said, who says swing one ball above the ball? So I think that AB against you, I swung one ball above the ball, and I missed the ball. So that didn't work either. So that's the early on. But yeah, it was you were one of my nemesis, and I don't know. I don't really like to talk about it too much, even though I'm talking about it. So I had you on. I had to, but awesome. But what an awesome career you had. 7-time All-Star. You finished with 422 saves. Rolaids man in '99. Astros Hall of Fame, obviously, but this is the big one. And I like to talk to the guys that are getting inducted. I got to go to one induction. I went for Trevor, and I got to see it. And still to this day, I was still overwhelmed because you watch it on TV all those years, and you think, oh, there's a decent crowd gathering for the player, and you get there, and it's a different animal as far it's, I call it Woodstock. It looks like Woodstock. The friends and family are in front of the ropes, watching the inductees, and then you look back and it just crowds go on for days. Have you been to a ceremony, or will this be your first one?
This will be my first one.
Wow.
I've watched them now. I've watched them. And it was funny because it's just I'm just the type of person that I'll sit there and watch these things, but I didn't want to go there and I'm not a big crowd guy as far as like going and sitting and I going to a big league ball game. I can sit and watch it on TV and drink my own beer and yell at people,
right?
And I don't have to be politically correct. I can sit there. So I'm usually not a big crowd guy, and so I haven't been there, but just going to Cooperstown to when they first introduced us, it is overwhelming. That was overwhelming. Walking in the museum was overwhelming to look at yourself and go, wait a minute, do I? I mean, the names are unbelievable. And I mean, the names upon names of greats that you've admired or looked up and things like that. And even the guys that we played with, Bunny, I mean, playing with the unit, Chipper, playing with Pedro, Glavin, all these guys that you played with and stuff, having them and thinking of yourself as comparable to those guys, it's still hard for me to think about that because, this is like, and I'm sure it is for everybody, like the cherry on top. That is the ultimate cherry on the top for an athlete to be in this small group.
Have you finished your speech?
I have, but I think there's always tinkering. I mean, I think I've got 2 days. I go up tomorrow. And so I have the 24th and 25th. I think I do some tinkering on it. But it just seems like there's always something. Don't leave this person out. Oh, I just thought about this. Don't do that. And, I think my biggest fear is leaving, people out. I mean, I wake up at night going, write down in the notes like, oh, this guy and this memory and just trying to tie it in so that it's not like, speed bumps through the whole thing. Cause, I'm pretty emotional as it is as a person. And so trying to find spots where it'll be emotional and won't be forever and have that little suck them back moment for 10 seconds and then move on, that kind of thing. So the whole speech has been trying to pattern it so that it's just not a big sob fest the whole way.
The whole process for you got in on the 10th ballot. Where did you go emotionally? Like your mind every year, did you get to a point where it's like, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about it. The vote's coming up. I know I'm this, and you read all the articles, oh, he's trending this way, he's trending that way. Did you get to a point where you thought, oh, I don't know if it's going to happen for me, or that 10th time you'd been through it so many times, was it a big event anymore? Like, whatever, if it happens, it happens.
Well, early, I think the first couple times when I didn't get many votes, but I was just enough to stay on the ballot, it was like, I thought it'd be better. And then, like, I think the 4th to the 8th was like, whatever, even though I was starting to trend well, and people were being supportive, I was like, whatever. I didn't put much stock. And then I think the ninth time when I came up 5 votes short, that's when it became a little bit more surreal. Like, hey, this could happen. And, the kiss of death is, nobody's ever had that many votes and not got in. And you're like, oh God, could I be that guy? And so that was the apprehension going into it. Was like, I don't want to be that guy that, oh, you got 74.9%. Sorry. And then, just the expectation of you could be in and how do you handle having no real knowledge of the whole process of like what goes on from here and the expectations. But I mean, that night I was probably 20 Tito's and Red Bulls in. I mean, it was a wreck. I mean, I was just, I mean, just emotionally just draining. And as soon as, when they called it like 6:05, everything just kind of fell on the floor. It was just that buildup. And after that happened, it was a load off my shoulders, and I think since then, finding out that, you're the first from Southwest Virginia, the second Virginian to ever be in the Hall of Fame, or the first Division III ever to get to the Hall of Fame. I mean, you start to really have a lot of things come out, and so you have an impact on a lot of people. And I think that's the thing that really stands out, is the impact and role that I played with a lot of people in Southwest Virginia, and being a small statured person and having the ability to get that far, that now it is possible. It has been a roller coaster. I think the ride up tomorrow will be that smile and grin and happy drive that I've been expecting, because I've been doing the travel ball tour for the last 3
you're in the middle of that. Yeah, you're in the pick the parents, Billy. Pick the parents, best parents. That's usually what makes the teams.
15 years. I've done it for 15 years, and so it's God's curse to baseball. And so I think getting through that, now I can take a deep breath and enjoy that ride up.
I know this is probably a tough question, because you think about your journey through life, and there's so many people. I just think in my own life, but if you had to pick a handful of mentors that got Billy Wagner where he is now, and at the pinnacle of what you did for a living for so many years, who are some of the men or the women along the way that were instrumental in that?
Well, everybody has their wife, because I don't think we get through this. I mean, me and my wife have been married 30 years, and so she's thrown every pitch when I was in college and going through the minor leagues, and her sacrifice to watch me play has been remarkable. I mean, I am not the easiest person to live with, and so her ability to really compromise has been a big asset for me. But on the field, it's probably guys that are not your name brands. It's a Mike Magnanti. It's the Gary Lucas pitching coach in A-ball. The guys that had a little bit more feel for who you were. Baggy was one of my closer teammates, because of just how he would his expectations, and he taught me what expectations were in the big leagues. I think a lot of times when I came in, people were like a little more hands off, because I was good. I just didn't know how good. I didn't know what could happen. And Baggy is one of those, like, these are the things you got to be able to do. You have a bad day, you need to know how to handle it. You need to know how to go more than one day. These are there. If you want to be a big dog, this is what big dogs do. And then, your Russ Springers, your Jay Powells, guys like that. Moises Alou was a huge teammate for me. And I just think, the conversations with guys like, Pedro Martinez and, the Tom Glavins. I mean, it couldn't be the different ends of the spectrum to play on a team with two Hall of Famers and hear both conversations. But I think conversations of like, this is what I do. I believe in who I am and what I bring, and just their confidence and how they believed in their self was something that helped me to trust who I was going to be, win or lose, good or bad. This is who I needed to be, and stay true to who I was going to be. And, those guys, as a bullpen committee, you're in that small pen, and everybody's got to be, in a positive movement, or you got to know how to talk to each other. And I think the bullpen guys for me, in lots of ways, were inspirational, and your bullpen catchers and guys that you could just confide in helped me get to that confidence point, because, I probably puked every game I got in. My anxieties were a wreck, and I would probably throw up. And so, it was funny when I come out and I'd get ready to get on the mound, and everybody go, you seem so intense. And it was because I was so angry at being, have that fear of failure, that I'm in the bathroom yakking my brains out, and I'm coming in on the mound, and it's hair on fire, and here we go. And it was a lot of how I handled that. But the Brad Lidges and guys like that were the ones that's like, hey, you got this, you're good. Yeah, and it takes that even to the best. Now, I don't know if Mo or Trevor or Lee Smith and those guys ever had guys that were, when they came out, they looked like it was very easy and like they never got worried about anything. And so, when I hear about how successful they were and compare, I'm sitting here going, man, I'm out there jacking my brains out, worried to death. And, I got a fresh 23-year-old kid, Craig Kimbrell's out there, and he thinks, this is what I've done all my life. And I'm like, holy gosh, it must be nice. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that's been very helpful on this role.
I think, the closers I've gotten to play with, I played with Lee Smith in Cincinnati, and I watched how his process went. He used to go the second inning, he would take a nap. And then they'd wake him up at a certain point in the game. Maybe that was a game he had to close or didn't. I played with Trevor and kind of grew up with Trevor. And I watched how he handled things, Jeff Brantley was a really good closer in Cincinnati, and he kind of passed it to Jeff Shaw, who had a lot of success in that closer role. They're all different, but you guys are all unique. You're different dudes. The closers seem to me, that bullpen in general, but the closers usually, they had a certain way about them and a certain, I don't know, it was a certain something that just separated them from the rest of the bullpen. I played with guys that were unbelievable eighth inning guys, unbelievable seventh inning guys, but for some reason that ninth inning, they were a different person. Do you think what is special when you look to today's game and some of the great closers of today's generation? What do you think separate? What's the difference between that guy that handles the ninth inning and the guy that's more suited for a role leading up to that ninth inning?
Well, the thing that you got to have the manager that keeps putting you out there. Once you've got that confidence, you've been successful. That always helps. My first year in the big leagues, pretty much came in as a closer, and it was luck. I mean, John Hudak had gotten hurt, Todd Jones had gotten hurt, and they were like, "Hey, let's throw this guy in," and they kept throwing you out there, and you kept throwing out there, and the ability to come back every single day. I mean, every single day, and want the ball every single day. Every time it was the big game, it was always a big game when I have a chance to pitch. And I think that the separator is wanting the ball every single day. I think John Papelbon was one of the guys that when I went to Boston, coming off of Tommy John, and I was going to be his setup man. Now I get to see what it really was like to watch somebody close a game and be there. And, I enjoyed seeing that process. And, the eighth inning wasn't easier or harder. It was, if I didn't get through it, guess who was coming in? Come on, Paps, you got this, right? There's just a difference. There's no netting for you. You go in there and having your back against the wall, knowing that you're the guy, this is it. If we're going to get to the playoffs, we're going to do these things. You've got to be very successful. And I enjoyed that moment. I enjoyed that, it's all on you. Go do what you got to do. And I think, that was a real draw and fire for me to go out every night and to be ready. And I enjoyed that responsibility. And I think that's the thing that really sets closers apart. I mean, you can't go out and have 601 saves like Trevor or whatever Mo's got and these guys without taking the ball every single time. Hey, here we go. Give it to me. Good, bad. I don't feel good. I feel great. Whatever. I think that's what sets you apart. And there's not a closer that doesn't go through that once a year. Blow two saves and the media blows you up as it's the end of the times and the world's ending. I remember seeing it with Trevor and me and him laughing in the back, thinking, here I am. I just had 35 consecutive saves and I blew two, and now they're ready to get rid of me. But that lifestyle was just something that sets you apart because it was I'll show them, and I mean that's things I think set you apart. the short memory is a real thing, because failure is inevitable, and how your mannerisms, your posture, how you handle it really dictates, are you able to come every day? And I mean, guys like Octavio Dotel, Brad Lidge. I mean, I've had some great setup men who were by far and away had chances to close, and they would be the first to tell you that, there is a big difference in the eighth than in the ninth. And I mean, and a lot of my setup men like to always tell me that they had to face, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, and I got to 6, 7, 8. They love telling me that.
You're right.
Yeah, but I'm like, well, I appreciate it. But there is something to that, and it's, the game is handled a little bit different today, where your guys are all stuffed. There's, and I was a stuff guy. I wasn't really a like, you knew what you were getting. It was, the great, I say all the time, I thought the greatest closer I ever saw was John Smoltz, though. I thought he was probably by far. I think the nastiest closer I ever saw was Rob Nin. And I got in that bat off of Rob Nin. I was so excited. I got in that bat off of Rob Nin in San Francisco, and Eddie Tomlinson's catching. I'm like, Eddie, just, hey, throw me that slider. Everybody's talking about this slider. Just throw me the slider.
I still don't know what it is. It's a slider something Vulcan pitch.
It was. I remember he threw that thing, and I just closed my eyes and I said, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And I mean, to know Nin was like just the best. He was such a funny guy. But getting a bat off of a closer for another closer was the greatest thing. I mean, I'd never get a hit, but it was the greatest thing sitting there. I always wanted to face Trevor. I was like, I would love to face Trevor, because I watched more people dive under the bench with a guy throwing, 88, 90, but scared to death, knowing the changeup's coming, cannot hit it. It was the greatest thing. I was like, holy cow. And I mean, Baggy would go, I'd face you 9 out of 10 days, then face him. And so that's, everybody had that unique, even John Franco. John Franco could throw one strike an inning and get out of it. It'd be the most unbelievable thing. I mean, the guy had 424 saves, and, you would be out there and smoking mirrors with him at times, but he would throw you one strike and then get you, and you get out of an inning. And
he get you to chase. He gets you. Franco was nasty. I don't hear about him enough. Franco was no walk in the park. I'm interested, because with the closer, it's like, I know you're out in the pen. I know everything you're gonna do. I know what you've been successful with me against. What I haven't gotten a hit. Obviously, we covered that. But I'm gonna have some sort of approach when I see you getting loose. I'm gonna, I've watched video. I've been in the box with you. But as a closer, give me your process a little bit. Is it a team comes to town and you watch video, as much video as we had at the time? Today,
right.
They have so much at their fingertips. Do you watch the game? Do you watch the series? Do you watch the success the players have had against certain pitches, certain counts? Or is it just kind of, no, this is what I did off him last time. This is my history with that individual hitter?
For me, I was never willing to go really secondary pitch to beat somebody. The only time I really went secondary pitch on anybody was Vinny Castillo. He was the only person, like, you could throw that ball came up like a beach ball, but after I figured out, hey, more breaking balls, then it became a different whole ball game. But in the trial and error, I guess, right? But when rubber meets the road, the one thing you have to be able to do is live with what you are. Everybody knows you're getting a fastball. I mean, you're setting fastball. What made my mediocre slider decent was the ability to occasionally throw it for a strike and just completely change the pace. And so I think those are the things that made the difference. But, when we go in these meetings, we had, inside edge, and they would talk about, for a hitter, they would say, this guy is a dead red fastball hitter. Well, I'm a fastball pitcher. The biggest thing I had to come over is like, so what? I mean, you're facing Barry Bonds. I mean, the worst thing you can do is pitch from behind, or I challenged him every single time. Here you go. And Barry would, as soon as I throw a breaking ball to him, I'd throw him a an 0-1 breaking ball, he would step out of the box, look at me like I was an idiot, because he'd tell me, that is awful. That is awful. He'd tell me it's awful, which Barry Bonds could tell me anything. But I would beat him with fastballs and just go, here you go, get after it. So learning to trust who you were in those meetings, took a couple of years, because, realizing that, like your brother, if he took me deep, that the next night I'd have to be ready. And I had to know where the pitch was, learn where the pitch was. Sometimes it's not the stuff, it's just the location, and understanding how to move that and make the changes. But that's how it was for us. And I wouldn't really step out, but as I got older, I had better control with the breaking ball. So now I became I was probably a better pitcher my last 2 years, because I knew I could flip you a slider in for a strike, 0-0, and then I still had enough heat to be able to pitch up in the zone or pitch in and do some things. So I was a little bit better pitching in general, but for the most part, I didn't want to vary from what I was. And I watch guys vary a lot, because they're like pitching for a bad contact instead of, guys just saying, dare you, play the percentage. Because my son plays for Toronto, and and he constantly yells at me because I'm going, I can't believe you guys don't hit better. I said, the zone's different. Now, I'm not saying the stuff's not great. You're facing really consistent stuff, but it's not like they're trying to pinpoint this. And every pitcher makes a mistake, but it just seems like you would have, on a whole, it wouldn't be like that circus. How hard can I throw it? And I'm not really trying to pitch. I'm trying to throw as hard as I can, as long as I can. And the hitter's trying to swing as hard as he can. And it used to be, the change of speeds, and I'll use, if I got through hard, I didn't have to swing as hard. The ball was going to travel. So I think things have changed a little bit in that. I like to create space inside, and I would pitch inside on purpose, and I'd double up and not be afraid to double up in a fastball to get you even 2-0, because if you thought I might come back in, that made that fastball away, or that bad breaking ball away, a little bit better. So I had more of the plate to work with. I think, those things aren't as relevant today. I think pitching in isn't as relevant as it used to be. If you took a big cut, you were probably going to get one up and in, and everybody just knew how the game was played. You get this part of the plate, I get this part of the plate.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember swinging hard, and especially when I was young, and, and some repercussions. But you're right, and you don't see it as much today as far as the pitching in. The pitching in, it's not to hit you, to intimidate you, but I knew the guys that could effectively pitch me in and get me inside conscious. It really, because all of a sudden I lost a sense of what the strike zone was on the inside corner. And it's like, okay, he's coming in. If he puts it in that sweet zone, is it a strike? Is it a ball? That's the one that as a pitcher you want me to swing at, and as a hitter I don't want to swing at. And I knew when you could get me to flinching, I didn't care about getting hit. It wasn't going to be an intimidating thing when a pitcher came in. I loved when they flipped me. Oh, it's not intimidating. The Nolan Ryan thing, throwing one over your head, that's not going to make me shiver and worry about the curveball away. But if he could get me conscious inside of, should I swing? Should I not swing? That was the real effectiveness of pitching inside. It's like, because now I don't know my strike zone and I'm all over the place. And now you're right. I become very vulnerable to spin or anything away from me.
And nobody's flipping a bad hitter, right?
Right.
You would flip the good hitters. Everybody knew who the good hitter. I'm not going to go flip a 230 hitter. I'm not. If a guy who's got good swing, I need to get his attention. I need to let him know that, hey, I know you're good, and I need to create that. And so you knew how to do that. We all knew how to do that and when to do it. But, there's a big difference now with pitching in now. Everybody's like, oh, well, they don't understand that that's the fun part of the game. If you're getting thrown in or flipped, that's because we respect you. Now, if you get thrown in or something like that, oh, he's trying to do something. I mean, cutters in and stuff like I love the cutter. I do. I tell you, there's nothing better than a four-seamer up under your hands that makes you want to just rethink leaking out over that plate and, standing on the plate as a pitcher, and I took one off the face. I took a liner off the face so now I am almost positive you're gonna respect that inside. And if you pull me and get a hit, so be it. But you're gonna create that, and I'm not gonna give you this open season on going back up the box on me. So I'm gonna, creating these the space that I needed for off speed down the way. It's harder today. Wait till next year and they bring in the challenge. That's going to be interesting for a lot of people, because now your pitching quadrants, stuff won't matter. You're going to have the challenges will get even. There'll be a lot of counts flipped because of that. And I've watched it because of just watching minor league baseball and seeing how it's changing at bat from 1-2 to 2-1. Now it changes things.
Sure it does.
And so now going out there and putting that into it will be different. But I still think you have to create these things, because hitters are, I think overall these baseball players today are better physically, and their strength, their abilities are unbelievable. I think they're faster, stronger. I mean, guys are throwing balls from the outfield 105 miles an hour. They're, hitting exit velos, 117 or something like that. And, when you played, I've watched you hit balls that were blistered off the wall. We just didn't track any of that stuff because it was still going to be a double.
Right.
And now it's a double, and now we'll put a gold star because it's 114.
Right.
I mean, that's changed a little bit, but I still, being the old school, I knew when Bret Boone's coming up there, and I knew what he could do. And you had to put your A game in there, and you couldn't just throw. I had to go with, and, the respect was like, I'm not going to get beat on my second best pitch. Right. I'm going right at you, because I thought that you're that good a player. And I think if I have to sit there and I have to be concerned, then, those are the things that are complimentary. And I mean, you had lineups when you were at the Braves and Seattle and Cincy and all these teams. You had some dudes that, you had to respect. So, that I believe in that. I wasn't about to go out and throw 3 and 4 pitches that were different and have to worry about getting behind on any of you guys.
Yeah, and I agree with you too on the pitching. Life goes on, and every generation has its thing. I teased the kids playing today, and I said, listen, as much as you're going to get on me about my generation, I got on my dad, who got on my grandpa. Mm-hmm. I said, one day your kid's going to laugh, and he's going to say, see that guy you faced, Dad? He wasn't very good. Because I remember that. I remember my grandfather talking to me like, when Randy'd be pitching, he's like, oh, Bret, you should have seen Bob Feller. I say, Pops, I said, Randy's pretty good. And he'd be like, he ain't a Bob Feller,
Right.
It's just the way we are. We love our generation. We knew how good the guys were. And we also respect the current generation. Of course, life goes on. Guys get bigger, stronger, faster. We have more technology. We have more ways of seeing the game, more tools at our disposal. And it's cool. I can honestly say this, the left-handed pitching has changed, the velocity. I sit there and I watch it on a daily basis. There was Billy Wagner. There was Randy Johnson. There was Al Leiter.
Yeah.
But other than that, the lefties were usually the Glavine types. Now, Glavine, people want to say, oh, Tommy Glavine, he was this. I'll tell you what, Tommy Glavine had 92, 93 for you anytime. He could put a ball anywhere he wanted, and his changeup was different than everybody else's. There's a reason he won 300 games, not because he was just a lefty with a decent changeup. His changeup never got there. He's one of the best left-handers I've ever been around, I've ever played with, or definitely hit against. So I think, yes, the velocity has changed because it was you and Randy. Those were the two lefties it was a different level of velocity in our generation. But I think you talk a lot about throwing versus pitching. I'd rather face a thrower all day long, and I'll fight velocity, I'll fight spin, versus a guy that can carve me up with pitching ability, able to locate and shape pitches the way he wants to.
Right. Kyle Hendricks today goes out there and throwing 88 sinkers. I mean, that's devastating. I mean, velocity is not the problem anymore. Velocity back when I played was the ability to make a mistake. You can make a mistake and get away with it.
Yep.
Now velocity. I mean, everything is velocity trained. I mean, in high school we velocity trained. Lord have mercy. I faced a left-hander. Our first game in Florida, Gio Rojas. He's throwing 97. He's a junior in high school, 6'5", throwing 97. So velocity's not, and our guys are like, well, velocity's velocity. You know, it's the perception and timing and all that stuff. But we train for that. You know, it's just amazing how they can do this. And, you know, being of that amateur style, you know, having to deal with arm injuries and protocols and things like that, you know, what we see is, you know, when these guys by the time they get to the big leagues, they've sort of run out of that runway. And so they can't go out there and throw, you know, the 250 innings, and they don't have the ability to change the speeds because it's all or nothing, because that's all they've ever done with lessons and travel ball and going into college and things like that. And so you know, to find somebody that is really valued in pitchability like a Glavine, you know, even Maddox and guys like that could really just move a ball around and do things, you know, that it's difficult. Pitchability is not as big a thing as it is size, things that they really can't teach. You know, you can go to Driveline and do run and guns all day long now to build velocity. You know, it's not a mechanical thing. They'll teach you a mechanic to keep you make you be able to throw hard, but it doesn't teach you how to throw a strike.
Right.
You know, those things have changed a little bit where, you know, it's all or nothing, you know, and that's where I think in times, you know, like the bunts and, you know, small ball make a big difference now, because pitchers aren't as athletic to do it, because it's all or nothing. And you can speed them up, slow them down with just how you get in the box now. And, you know, not that you're going to ask anybody, you know, to just go up there and bunt anymore, but I mean, it does make a difference when a guy has to change his mechanics because this guy may bunt. And, you know, the league doesn't value the bunt as much as they do 109 single. But I do think that, you know, the game, you know, at times you wonder if the win, what would you do to win has changed over the time, because it's just short windows and short bursts for everybody now.
Yeah, it's you know, Scooble came through, and we had Scooble the other day in Texas. And I mean, now that's the combination: velocity, tremendous changeup, but pounds of strike zone, and he's 0-1. So it's like the triple whammy, and a reason that he's, you know, arguably, if not these, definitely in the conversation of the best pitchers in baseball. I get to watch Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi take the ball every fifth day, and it's a pleasure to watch those guys, because it's not only stuff, but it's these guys know how to pitch. I really appreciate watching a Seth Lugo in today's game, that it's not going to overwhelm you by today's standards, velocity-wise, but he's a pleasure to watch pitch. And I think through the game with him, I'm thinking, if I'm facing him right now, and what this particular player did to him last at bat, how would I be approaching him this bat? Because I know he's playing chess with me out there, and he's going to try to move. That's the real fascination for me. That's really my passion, is that game inside the game. And still the great ones are the great ones, and they always will be, each and every generation. And you're going to argue with your kids, and your kids are going to argue, and then one day you're going to be a grandpa, you're going to be arguing with your grandkids about, oh, you should have seen this guy when I play. Oh, grandpa, that's not a big deal. But I think that's what makes baseball so great.
Absolutely.
And generational. Because we're always going to argue. We're always the best, you know. We're always the best until our kids come along, and then they're the best.
Right. But I do like that too. I do like that discussion. And that's the barbershop conversation that we all enjoy, is strikes, balls, fair, foul, you know, who is better, you know, Bob Gibson or this guy.
Right.
And I think that's the joy of the game. And that's the passion of any traditionalist baseball fan. But, you know, those are, you know, baseball is still the greatest game in the world. It's always fun to watch. You know, it's unexplainable. And it's fun to watch somebody that can master a swing and master a position and throwing strikes and make those unbelievable plays. So the game is still the greatest in the world.
Absolutely. All right. Before I let you go, I just got to know. All right. Tell me the story. Tell me the story as Billy Wagner about to be a Hall of Famer, was a right-hander turned left-hander. Give me the quick version of it.
A quick version. Undersized, always playing with bigger kids. Kid came over, Chip Anderson came over to my grandmother's house. We're playing hat football. Falls on me, breaks my right arm, my right elbow. I continue to play left-handed. About I guess as a year later, I'm on the monkey bars, fall, break my right arm again, and just never changed. I continued to play left-handed from that point on. I was already, I was young enough to make that adjustment, and I just kept doing it. I can't do anything left-handed except throw. And so I can still throw right-handed and stuff, but it's, it's just one of those, 6-7-year-olds falling, breaking his arm, being resilient, keep going out there and just not, just playing, just wanting to be part of the gang with the big guys.
Do you think, I'm trying to think. Do you think it was something, but do you think it was something though, you were kind of that ambidextrous, like a switch hitter only with arms? Because I'm thinking even at 7, I know I'm right-handed. At 7, I guess I don't know because I don't have the experience you had, but if I had to pick up a ball and play left-handed, the thought of me saying, oh, yeah, I could still be a big leaguer, it's kind of far-fetched to me. It's like you take away my right arm. I don't know. I catch with my left hand. Now all of a sudden I got to catch with my right hand and throw with my left?
Well, the other thing was, I think I feel like my aunt had a glove, a left-hander's glove, and somebody in my family had a left-hander's mitt that pretty much that's the only glove we had. And so I just used it to play catch, and it just kind of grew like that. I remember, hurting my arm when I was growing up after that. I lost my glove, and we had a pony league game, and I was panicking because I didn't have a glove, and I got to go to this game, and I'm not going to be able to play. And I remember going out with my grandpa's old softball glove, trying to throw right-handed. I'm working. I mean, my sister's throwing me balls, and I'm chucking it, and I can get away with this. I can do this, and good thing happened. My uncle came and took me to Rose's and bought me a Spalding's mitt, and I used that from all the way in till I got drafted. So, it was pretty. It was a meant to be type of thing. I mean, I don't know if there's been a lot of guys that are ambidextrous. Darryl Kyle and I used to switch gloves all the time, and he could throw a curveball left-handed as well as he could right-handed. There was things that he could do that I was like, because everybody would make a big deal. I'm going, have y'all seen Darryl Kyle do this? Darryl Kyle, we played catch and stuff like that, and he always blew me away about how good he was at doing it. And so, I think it's God's way of giving you that opportunity. You just can't waste it.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be fun. I think the ceremony's on Sunday. You got a big week. I wish y'all. Hey, Billy, it was a pleasure. Always had the most respect for you as a player.
Thank you.
What a career. Well deserved getting into the Hall of Fame, and I'm really happy for you, and really soak it all in, man. You're going to do fine in the speech. I remember sitting there, and we all have spoken our life and do some public speaking. That's kind of the pinnacle of it. But I remember watching Trevor do it, and I know how worried he was about the speech. He went up there, and you're critiquing yourself so heavily, but it always turns out great, because it's just the moment and where you're at. And it's just, wow, how cool would that be? You do this your whole life, and now you're sitting on a stage, and not too many people in the history of this game ever been able to stand up there. So I'm really happy for you and your family. Enjoy it. I appreciate you coming on the show today. And,
thank you.
I'll see you down the road somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Boone, it's always great to catch up, man. I hope to see you soon. Thanks for all the compliments. It's great.
You got it, Billy. And for those of you watching the Boone Podcast, now we're on YouTube. Check it out. Tap on that link and figure it out. For those of you that download your podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you download them, until next time, keep it here.